What's interesting is Anita reached out to me right after she found ChooseFI and the FI community, which I did not realize until 5 minutes ago when she said, "Oh, we've actually kind of met." We emailed back and forth, and I remembered her email and I just called it up. And she started taking action from the very first. She responded to my FI Weekly and gave me her wins of the week. And it was just really, really inspiring. And then she had mentioned, okay, I'm in the hospitality industry, I'm furloughed. And that was the last I heard until right now. So, I mean, personally, I'm fascinated to hear her story, what happened, and how she picked herself back up. So, yeah, Jonathan, this should be great.
So we're going to go ahead and bring Anita on, but I just need to give a little bit more context. This is a finding the idea of financial independence, realizing that the equation is earn more, spend less, and figure out how to optimize or invest the difference. Anita has done all of that, but the earn more piece actually ties really closely to what we were talking about in regards to Talent Stacker and specifically the Salesforce Career Development Program. By listening to ChooseFI, she heard that I had started that other podcast, the Talent Stacker podcast, and how Bradley and I had put together that Salesforce Career Development Program because of the actions that she had already implemented. ChooseFI, she gave it a shot. Her results blew my mind, and I invited her on the show as well as Bradley on the show to talk about it, just because I think both of them confirmed that although her results are amazing, she's not a total outlier. This is what they are seeing every single day, every single week, and it's just amazing to be a part of. So with that, Anita and Bradley, welcome to the ChooseFI podcast. So excited to have you here today.
Yeah, really happy to be here. Really excited to be here. Thank you for having me on. This is crazy because I just started listening to you guys in August and I am on here now.
Action is everything. And Bradley, just for some context for people, we've featured you on the show twice, and I would love for you to kind of give a sense, because although we rolled out the Salesforce Career Development Program last November, really it was almost because our community, the ChooseFI community, told us they wanted it. And I think you recognized that earlier on, and you were doing your best to say, people, look, this is insane. This is the best opportunity that's out there right now. Nobody's talking about this, and the field is wide open. I saw you doing that. I didn't know quite what to do with it. It took us a while to kind of figure out what it might look like. But I mean, you knew, like, give our audience a sense. You knew this is something that can change lives.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we were on episode 117 talking about Salesforce and lifestyle design. And I think we had a lot of fun, and the audience latched on to Salesforce, and that I was working this 15 to 20 hour a week schedule and making incredible income, right around $200,000 a year. And they really latched on to, hey, what is Salesforce? And from that, we actually spun up a Salesforce group for the ChooseFI community, where people started joining in, and we noticed people were landing jobs based on just the community spirit there and talking to each other and learning from each other. And over the course of about 2 years, that group grew to about 5,000 members, and we have had hundreds of people land jobs in the Salesforce community just from that community learning and growing together.
So all this being said, I want to bring this back to Anita and get you in here. So, this is kind of some of the subtext, right? The background story. ChooseFI is producing content mostly around personal finance and building a better life. We have Bradley on the show, but walk us through, like, last year, you're in the hospitality industry. It's a tumultuous year at best. Tell us kind of how you found Salesforce and, like, what questions you had the first time you heard it.
Yeah, I mean, so about exactly a year ago, I was still working at a hotel as a revenue manager, and the hotel was connected to a convention center. So we're a big box, big group heavy hotel. And I think this is the time where groups started canceling. And I'm the person that does the short-term forecast for it. So just group after group after group, like dropping off. And I think finally in March, I was furloughed. It was just a really sad time because, we have over 1,200 rooms at the property, and our bread and butter is group business. So obviously the pandemic is not going to nix with that. So a lot of us were furloughed in March. Right after that, I was very proactive. I started learning everything, trying to figure out what my next move was, because I could tell, like, hospitality is not going to recover anytime soon. So I started taking classes on Coursera, edX, LinkedIn Learning. And then I started researching companies in the Fortune's top places to work because the company I worked for was number one there 2 years in a row. So I was like, well, I enjoyed there. So what else is on there? And that's when I first heard of Salesforce. And at first I was like, oh, I don't want to do sales. Did a little more research, found out that's not what they do. Actually signed up for a Trailhead account, which is their online learning account, and did that for a day. But I was like, this is awesome, but how easy or how hard is it to actually get into this? I don't know anybody who does this. So like, is this real? So fast forward a couple of months, I kind of like gave up and binge watched everything on Netflix. Got a little like depressed, that part of the pandemic and quarantine, you're just like very blah. August, we had an all manager meeting for the property, and it still no good news. So that kind of lit a fire under me. And I recall years ago, I stumbled upon Mr. Money Mustache's famous blog posts. But at the time, I was like, I'm never going to make that money. I'm not in tech. Like, it's too hard. Like, FI is not for me. And then after that, I think I started listening to podcasts, and that's how I stumbled upon you guys. And I binge listened to over 100 episodes within that month. I had you guys playing in the background, like when I was like cooking and doing chores and stuff all the time. And then I stumbled upon your Talent Stacker episode with Bradley Rice. And that's when I really learned more about Salesforce and how lucrative it could be and how possible it is for anyone to do, even without a tech background. So I signed up for his free 5-day challenge, got hooked, actually ended up in the paid program. And I mean, I hopped back on the Trailhead in October, transferred my binge skills and binge learned everything I could straight for a month. Like, I mean, I was unemployed. In October is when I actually got laid off. So I was unemployed. I don't have kids. I use it as like, it was my full-time 40-hour work week job. So come November, about exactly a month later, I went ahead and took the first admin certification exam and passed. And then after that, I used all the tips I learned from the program and ended up landing a job in January that pays really well.
We'll come back to that in a second. I know Brad has a ton of questions even before we get there.
Yeah, this is amazing. So I want to kind of slow down on your story, right? Because this is what's transferable to other people. It's you're proactively exploring, like you knew way back in March of 2020, this is probably not going to end well for my industry. It sounded like you realized, okay, I've got to pick up skills, right? I've got to explore. I've got some runway, possibly, but I've got to learn some things, right? And that in and of itself is amazing. I mean, most people just reactively wait until things happen to them and then bemoan, oh, poor me. So, I mean, just in and of itself, that's amazing.